Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Peace and Wisdom. Life is a journey full of choices and challenges. Sometimes we find ourselves faced with situations that disturb us. But what many of us do not know is that Allah constantly guides us through signs, visible or invisible. These signs are there to protect us from evil, to direct us towards what is best for us, even if that means walking away from certain things or people. Today I will share with you 5 powerful signs which could mean that Allah is telling us to leave immediately. These signs are often subtle, but their impact on our lives can be profound. Are you ready to discover how Allah speaks to your heart and move away from what does not serve you? Stay with us to explore these telltale signs and learn how to recognize them. 1. The uneasiness in your heart. A divine sign to move away. In the tumult of daily life, every choice we make impacts our soul and our balance. Sometimes we find ourselves in situations that, deep down, cause us deep unease, a feeling of discomfort. This discomfort is not just a passing sensation or a simple sign of stress. No, it goes well beyond that. And in the Islamic tradition, it is often seen as a sign of Allah. A sign to warn us that we must take a step back, that it is time to turn the page and not persist in what does not serve us. Imagine for a moment this feeling, this silent torment, as if your heart cannot find peace. You are in a situation or environment, and you feel like something is missing, like everything doesn't fit together the way it should be. It's this inner discomfort that whispers to you that now is not the time to stay, that this path is not made for you. This feeling is a kind of signal coming from your soul, inspiring you to listen to what your heart is telling you. In Islam, we understand that the heart of a believer is a pure receptacle, a place where divine light can be reflected, but also a place where the signs of Allah can manifest. This uneasiness, this feeling of discomfort, is therefore much more than a simple bout of stress. It is a call to action, a call not to ignore this subtle divine guidance. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, offers us this inner feeling as a warning, a moment when He urges us to turn away from what could be harmful to us. It is often difficult to admit it, but this discomfort is sometimes the divine response that we are waiting for, a way of guiding us on another path. When you feel this disturbance deep down, it is essential not to ignore it. Take a moment to settle down, to listen to your heart. Why do you feel this discomfort? Is this situation or these people taking you away from the tranquility and inner balance that you are looking for? Sometimes it's the simple act of taking a break, withdrawing from the outside world for a moment, that opens our minds to the truth. Divine guidance can often be hidden in this pause. But how do you know if this discomfort is a real sign? When you are in a situation or environment, you have tried everything to make it work, but the discomfort persists, you should take this as a clear sign from Allah. This feeling of resistance in your heart may feel like a barrier that you must overcome, but Allah is the one who protects His servants. In times of confusion, Allah does not leave us alone. On the contrary, He offers us these signs as divine protection, to make us aware of what prevents us from moving forward on the right path. It is often easier to convince ourselves that we can force things to work, to stay in situations where we feel out of place. But this disturbed state of mind is not inevitable. He is here to free us, to encourage us to make the courageous choice to leave what does not elevate us. The uneasiness in our hearts is a way for Allah to tell us that it is time to turn the page and move towards something more peaceful, more aligned with what we are called to be. Pay attention to these signs. Don't be afraid to listen to your heart, to do what's right for your inner peace, even if it means taking a different path. Allah will never guide you in a direction that would harm your soul. This is how He makes you a better version of yourself, by pushing you to make choices that bring you closer to Him, not further away from Him. 2. Doors that systematically close. A divine message to protect us. It is often said that when one door closes, another opens. But it's not always that easy to understand, is it? In the modern world, we are taught to persevere, to force things, to do everything to get what we want. However, from the Islamic perspective, it is essential to remember that everything that happens in our lives is guided by the will of Allah, whether success or failure, opportunities or obstacles. And sometimes the closing doors in our lives are not obstacles, but blessings in disguise. One of the clearest signs that Allah sends us is closing the doors. Imagine this. You struggle to move forward. You put all your effort into a project, a relationship, or a business, but despite everything, nothing seems to work. You try, and every attempt seems to hit a wall. Opportunities close one after another, and you feel stuck in a dead end. At times like these, it is crucial to remember that these closures are not just a coincidence. They are a divine sign, a way for Allah to tell us that this is not the time, that this is not what He wants for us. This can be difficult to accept, especially when we have high expectations or specific dreams. But in Islam, we firmly believe that what happens to us, whether pleasant or difficult, is always for our good. Every door that closes, every opportunity that seems to slip away, may actually be a form of divine protection. Allah guides us towards what is best for us, even if it means taking us out of our comfort zone. If you're in a situation where you're constantly seeing doors close, maybe it's time to pause and think about what that means. Allah's will is never imposed harshly. On the contrary, it is imbued with wisdom and mercy. These closed doors are actually ways to distract us from things that are not meant to be in our lives. Allah never leaves us in a hopeless situation, but He often shows us another way, sometimes in a subtle way, sometimes more obviously. When a door closes, it does not mean we must abandon our faith or our aspirations. On the contrary, it invites us to review our priorities, to look for a new path that could be more beneficial for us. Sometimes the best moments of our lives happen after a closure that seemed daunting at first glance. Islam teaches us to trust in Allah's will, even when we don't immediately understand why certain things don't work. Allah is the best planner, and His wisdom far exceeds ours. This feeling of frustration, these doors that keep closing, can actually be signs of divine mercy, encouraging us to look for other possibilities, to explore other avenues. Allah wants us to be on a path that brings us closer to Him, and sometimes, to lead us there, He forces us to take a detour. These closures are there to protect us from what is not good for us, even if we do not immediately understand why. It is important at these times to remember that patience, sabr, is a precious virtue. Instead of fighting these closures, we should accept them as part of Allah's plan. Patience helps us find inner peace, and waiting for the right moment for the doors that are really meant for us to open. Prayer and constant reflection on divine will strengthen our trust in Allah and help us maintain hope, even when the doors seem closed. 3. Isolation in prayer and dhikr, a call to withdraw and refocus. In our daily lives, it is easy to get lost in the noise of the world. Between material concerns, social distractions, and professional obligations, our hearts can sometimes feel scattered, far from the tranquility and inner peace we seek. But in times when our soul is seeking comfort, there is a powerful way to reconnect with Allah: prayer and dhikr. These are acts of devotion that not only allow us to find inner peace, but also to receive clear signs from Allah. When we find ourselves in a difficult situation, where our mind is confused and we don't know which direction to take, it can happen that our prayers become cold and lifeless, as if something was missing. The dhikr, this practice of repeating the names and praises of Allah, can also become a mechanical routine, a meaningless gesture. In these moments, it feels like our spiritual connection is broken, and our heart seems out of sync with the world around us. This is where Allah sends us a sign, a call to us withdraw from the outside tumult and to refocus on Him. This isolation in prayer, this feeling of emptiness during dhikr, is not a punishment. On the contrary, it is a divine invitation to take a break, to isolate ourselves spiritually to better connect with our deep essence and the will of Allah. Allah does not want to leave us lost in our worldly struggles, but He seeks to guide us towards Him, towards a space of calm where we can hear His voice, beyond all the external noise. When you feel this break in your prayer, this emptiness in your moments of dhikr, it is essential to understand that this may be a sign inviting you to reflect on your state of mind and your connection with Allah. Perhaps something in your life is taking you away from this divine peace. Perhaps you are in a situation, relationship, or environment that does not allow you to find the tranquility necessary to draw closer to Allah. At such times, Allah uses this form of isolation to remind us that priority must be given to our connection with Him. This isolation can also be seen as a way to purify our hearts. Sometimes the outside world becomes too noisy, too overwhelming, and we need to retreat into silence to hear divine guidance. Prayer then becomes a refuge, a way to refocus and reestablish this connection with our Creator. If you feel that your prayers have become mechanical, or that your dhikr no longer tastes the same, perhaps it is time to step back and reflect on what is preventing you from finding peace. Allah invites us to turn to Him with sincerity, and this return to prayer and dhikr with full concentration and attention is a path to spiritual healing. In Islam, it is important not to see this spiritual isolation as a weakness, but as a growth opportunity. It is a time to purify oneself internally, to free oneself from distractions, and concentrate on the path of Allah. Allah constantly calls us to return to Him, and in these moments of isolation, we have the opportunity to restore our relationship with Him, listen to His silent counsel, and find clarity in our lives. When you feel lost in your prayers, don't get discouraged. Use this moment to refocus, to purify your intention, and let Allah guide you towards the peace and tranquility you seek. Isolation in prayer and dhikr is therefore much more than a simple emptiness or a moment of doubt. It's a sign of Allah's mercy, which helps us move away from distractions and refocus on our divine essence. This can be the perfect opportunity to rediscover the beauty of your spiritual connection. 4. Signs in community and nature, divine alignment through others and the world around us. We live in an interconnected world where every encounter, every event, every circumstance can carry an important message. The signs of Allah do not only manifest themselves in our hearts or through isolated events, but they are also revealed in our interactions with others and in the natural elements that surround us. In Islam, we believe that everything that exists in this universe, humans, nature, and even small coincidences, is part of a divine plan and can be a source of guidance. When Allah wants to lead us away from a bad situation or guide us to a better path, He often uses other people around us to convey His message. These signs can be in the form of advice from a loved one, a warning from a friend, or even a stranger. Sometimes the people in our lives tell us exactly what we need to hear, even if it isn't always what we want to hear. The heartfelt advice and words of warning from those close to us are powerful signs that we must listen to. This can manifest itself directly when someone warns us not to persist in a relationship or project, or in the form of indirect advice, where a simple observation causes us to question our choices. The people around us, although imperfect, are often the instruments of Allah, serving as messengers to guide us in our decisions. When warnings multiply, it is important to take a moment to listen to what these messages hide. These signs in our community, these words, are divine winks showing us that it is time to make a change. But signs aren't just limited to human interactions. Nature itself is a reflection of the greatness of Allah, and it can also be a means by which He communicates to us. An event or change in nature can have a profound impact on our spiritual and physical lives. Sometimes an accident, an unforeseen event, or even a simple change in the weather can be a sign from Allah. Natural events can be seen as reminders of our fragility, of the need to submit to divine will, and the importance of seeking answers beyond our immediate understanding. Take a moment to think about events or signs that have happened around you. Have you recently faced a series of negative events that seem to repeat themselves for no apparent reason? These events may be Allah's way of warning us that we must take another path. Sometimes these events are not punishments, but invitations to review our priorities, change direction, and turn toward what is truly best for us. In Islam, we believe that every breath of wind, every rain falling from the sky, and every heartbeat is part of a greater divine order. When we face obstacles or changes, we should take a moment to consider whether these events are direct signs from Allah, telling us to step back and walk away from certain situations. The signs in community and nature are not always obvious, but they are there, always moving, like ocean waves, ready to guide us. Wisdom lies in our ability to open our hearts and listen to what these signs have to teach us. When we begin to perceive these divine cues in the world around us, we learn to move forward more wisely, accept divine guidance, and choose paths that are in harmony with our spiritual mission. In everyday life, it is easy to miss these subtle signs, but with attention and an open heart, they become landmarks on our path to peace and personal growth. Signs in community and nature are reminders from Allah to refocus on our true purpose, to please Him and stay on the right path. 5. The test of patience, a divine sign to strengthen our faith and prepare us for better times. In life, everything is not always as simple as we would like. Sometimes we face trials that seem endless, times when doors remain closed, the path becomes uncertain, and patience seems to be tested. But it is essential to understand that patience, sabr, is one of the greatest ways of connecting with Allah, and that these difficult times are often divine tests who help us grow spiritually and draw closer to Him. Islam teaches us that patience is not just a passive reaction to difficulties, but an active practice, a sheet of paper. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, never leave us alone in our trials. Rather, every difficulty we encounter in our lives is an opportunity for Allah to purify us, strengthen us, and guide us to deeper moments of peace. But for this spiritual transformation to occur, we must have patience and perseverance. The test of patience can manifest itself in different ways. Sometimes this comes in the form of repeated difficulties, like a series of doors that close before us, or situations that seem to repeat themselves endlessly. Other times it may be personal losses, relational conflicts, or even inner struggles with our own faith. In all these cases, patience is the key to staying on the right path and to accept divine will, even when we do not fully understand why these trials are occurring. It's natural to feel frustration and impatience when we face challenges. However, Islam teaches us that moments of frustration are actually opportunities to strengthen our faith and to turn to Allah with sincerity. When a challenge presents itself, it is a test of our reliance sur Allah, tawakkul. We must remember that everything that happens in our lives is permitted by Allah, and that even in the most difficult times, Allah never tests us beyond our abilities. But how do we know if this test of patience is a divine sign for us? When we find ourselves in a difficult situation and despite our efforts, things do not seem to be improving, this is often the moment when Allah invites us to show sabr. It is a test to see if we will accept the situation in faith, if we will submit to His will with gratitude, or if we will give in to despair. The test of patience is often the one that reveals our level of faith and trust in Allah. In these times of difficulty, it is important to remember that patience is not an absence of pain or suffering, but the ability to maintain one's faith and peace of mind despite trials. This does not mean that we should ignore our emotions or pretend that everything is fine, but rather that we should seek to maintain an attitude of submission to divine will, understanding that every trial has a greater reason and spiritual purpose behind it. Furthermore, Islam encourages us to express our pain and difficulties to Allah through prayer, supplications, and dhikr. This is not a sign of weakness, but a mark of confidence that Allah hears and understands our struggles. In the Quran, Allah repeatedly reminds us that He is close to us, closer than our own veins, and that He does not leave us alone in the face of our difficulties. It is in these times that we must strengthen our relationship with Him, seek His help, and accept His will in faith. The test of patience is therefore a means of spiritual purification. It helps us get closer to Allah, to remember that we are nothing without Him, and that any difficulty is part of His divine plan. Each trial overcome with patience brings us closer to peace and reward what Allah has in store for us in this life and in the hereafter. When you are going through a difficult time, remember that the sabr is a divine light that illuminates our path and prepares us for future blessings. Allah's signs are all around us, and He mercifully guides us towards what is best for us, even if that sometimes means taking another path. If you have recognized any of these signs in your own life, it is time to sit down and think deeply about what Allah is asking of you. Don't let fear or uncertainty hold you back in situations that don't bring you inner peace. Remember that every obstacle, every closed door, is an opportunity to draw closer to Allah and His will for your life. If you found clarity in this video, share it with those who need it, and subscribe to the channel for more spiritual guidance inspired by Islam. Leave a comment below to share your thoughts and experiences with these signs in your own life. May Allah always guide you towards the best for you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.